When it comes to analyzing data from multiple tables, Excel's Power Pivot can be very useful. You can analyze the data by creating a data model, connecting all the tables using a common relationship. Then you can use some simple measures to create your calculations, and then use pivot tables to create your summary reports or aggregates. In this episode of Money Matters, I'm going to show you how you can use a table that has bills for clients and connect it to another table that has payments for clients, and then create a data model and use it to create dynamic balances for each customer. So join me in Excel and let's go through this in a few minutes. Welcome to Money Matters with Excel. Here we share tips and tricks on how you can use Microsoft Excel to get insights from your data to make good financial decisions. If you are joining us for the first time, consider subscribing to our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any of our subsequent videos. In this episode, I have these two tables. So on the left side, I have my blue table that contains student bills. This is already an Excel table. I've named it bills. Okay. Now, the unique thing about this table is that every student is recorded once. Okay, so this has a unique record of each student and the bill that the student is supposed to pay. Then in the green table, I have the record of payments. Okay, so I've named this payments, and here students can pay as many times in a term. Okay, so this is allowed to take duplicate payments. At the end of the day, we want to connect these two tables and then see how much each student is owing. Okay, we are going to use a pivot table to achieve this after we've connected it in the data model. So as I mentioned, these are already tables. If you are using Excel 2016 and beyond, you already have access to Power Pivot. Okay, so Power Pivot enables us to connect these two tables. If you are not in 2013, Power Pivot is an add-in. Ideally, Power Pivot should be a tab here, but if you don't have it as a tab, you can enable it by going to Data, and you see this icon here. You click on it, go to the Power Pivot window. It enables it for the first time, and then you can have access to Power Pivot here. Right. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is to stand in the first table and then add this table to the data model. So I'll add this to the data model. So it's basically going to give me my table presented in a columnar view, okay, in this Power Pivot environment. So this is my first table loaded. As you can see, the name is here. Then I'm going to close the Power Pivot window and then do same for my payments. So I'll stand here and then add this to the data model again. So at this point, I have my two tables loaded into Power Pivot. What I'm looking at is the data view. Okay, that presents a similar view to my presentation backstage. Okay, then if I switch to the diagram view, I now have this visual presentation of the two tables. It allows you to see all the columns and then connect it using the common column or the relationship. So as I mentioned, it is important that on one side you have just a unique list of codes for each student, and then on the other side you have many instances of the student paying with a code, right? So with these two, we can simply connect these two tables by selecting the code, which is the common column, and then dragging it to the left side. Okay, so here I've established a relationship between the two tables. I can now call data from each side and then do my analysis. Okay, so this is done. I can now switch to my data view, and I can now calculate what we call a measure. So measures are the aggregate values that I'm going to use in my final report. Now I can create measures in this bottom part of my Power Pivot environment. Okay, so I can stand in any cell here and then go to my formula bar, right? Then I begin with the name of my measure. So here I want to create balances, and then bring a column and then follow it up with an equal sign, right? So I have a very simple formula which I'm going to create using DAX. Okay, very similar to Excel functions. So I'll start with sum, open my brackets, okay, and then sum all the amount in my bills table. Okay, so this is my first formula, and then I'm going to subtract this. Okay, so another sum from my payments amount, and then I'll close this. So this is going to aggregate all the amount in bills and then subtract the payments as well. When I press enter, I now get the aggregate value or the net value here, which I can format using this 1000 separator, and I can also reduce the decimal places here. Right. So this is what I'm going to use, and then use the student code to filter for each student. Now in Power Pivot, you also have a pivot table icon here. So once you are done, you can exit using the pivot table icon. So I'm going to click this, okay, and then place this in an existing worksheet. Okay, so I'll come here and then select this cell, and then I'll click OK. So I now have my pivot table here. I have my bills table and I have my payments table. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my bills and then put the code of each student in the row section, okay, and also put the total bill, and also put the total bill in values. So I have how much each student is owing, and then now I can come to the payments table, okay, and then draw the amount that they have paid. Okay, so this is going to give me the amount that they have paid. Then for the balance, I already calculated it using this measure, so I can also add that one here as a third column. Right, so this now gives me a dynamic report for each student. Right, I can even insert a slicer, okay, that allows me to analyze by class. Okay, you know, we had a class over there. Okay, so I now have each class here, so I can filter down and then see how much each student owes by class. Now let's test this. So assuming student number A340005 makes payment, he hasn't made any payment so far, so this is outstanding. If I come here, okay, and then make entry for this student, okay, so this is the name, and then I'm putting in 5,000 here. Okay, then I can come to my pivot table, right click, and then choose refresh. Okay, and just like that, I have this updated. So it's dynamic. So once you receive payments, you can just refresh and this updates, okay, in your pivot table. So it's one smart way to connect the two tables, creating a data model, and then using pivot tables to just create your summary report. Please practice and add it to your list of Excel tricks. Thanks for watching. If this video was helpful and you would like to receive more of these videos directly on your WhatsApp, you can send ad to this WhatsApp number. We'll add you to our broadcast list so you receive our videos directly. You can also visit our YouTube channel, Finance Skills Hub. All our old videos are here. Please subscribe for notification of new videos, or connect with us on any of these social media handles. Thank you so much for watching.